Hello, this is Mr. Bradsby. It's great to be with you. Well, we're going to take and do a little review today on some mathematics that we talked about earlier. I've got a number line here, and if we wanted to, it keeps going. And anyway, I've labeled 0 through 10 on the number line. Okay? And we talked about rounding off numbers. So if we had a number, we could round it off to the nearest whole number, or the nearest 10, or the nearest 100. In this case, we want to round off to the nearest teens, to the nearest tens, I guess is a better way to say it, the nearest tens. And remember now, reviewing this, we decided that if a number is 5, which is halfway, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more up here to 10. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here to 0. So this is halfway. This is halfway. So if a number is 5 or larger, so if it's 5 or larger, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 or larger, we round it up to the nearest tens. I'll give you an example here. So the 5, we're going to let it round up. Okay, and 4, 3, 2, 1, or even 0, of course, we round down, but that doesn't need any. And these go round down. For example, if I have a number like 63, I want to round that to the nearest 10. Well, if it was 63, that'd be here 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 60. It's either going to be 60, or the one that's up from it is 70. So do you think 63 is closer to 60 or 70? Well, here's your 63. So it would round down, wouldn't it? It'd round down to 60. It's closer to 60. Then if we had a number like 88, okay? 88. Well, this would round either to 80 or 90, the nearest 10. We're going to round to the nearest 10. Is 88 closer to 80 or closer to 90? Again, we can look on the number line, and here's where 8 is. So 88, 89, 90. It's a lot closer to 90 than it is to 80, isn't it? So it rounds up to 90. Well, I think you remember this, and we're going to round off to the nearest 10. So I'm going to get some problems here for you. Okay, so you can see the problems I have here. We want to round these off to the nearest 10. So I want you to try it and see what you have. When you get finished, come back and we'll talk about them. So put me on pause and work these problems. Round them off to the nearest 10. Okay, well, let's see what you did here. 32. Well, here's 2. It's closer to 0. It's closer to rounding down than rounding up. So 32 rounded off would be 30. See how simple that is? 47, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 are down. Rounds up. What's higher than 40? 50 is. So it rounds up to 50. 47 would be right here on the number line if these were in the 40s. So 47 would be here, which is much closer to 50 than it is to 40. Okay, 91. Well, 91 is between 90 and 100, isn't it? Well, 91 would be right there, 91. Well, it's sure a lot closer to 90, isn't it? And as we said then, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, they round down In this case, down to 90 instead of 91. If it's 5 and above, we round up. Well, here's 68. It's close then to either the number 2 tens it's between is either 60 or 70. The number is 68, so 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 68 is right here. Is 68 closer to 60 or 70? It looks like it's closer to 70 to me. Same thing here. 28 is between 20 and 30. It would round up to 30. And 11, there's a nice one, 11. Whoops, let's see here. We'll put, what 2 tens is 11 between? 11 is about 10 or it's 20. 10, 11 would be here, much closer to the 10. Okay, so that's rounding off. We've tried that before, but that's pretty nice, isn't it? Simple, gives us an estimate here of about what this number is. 32 is about 30. 28 is about 30. 91 is about 90. 47 is about 50. So just an estimate of about how big these numbers are. Another thing we've been doing, and I'd like to review, is multiplying by tens. So here's 60, which is 6 tens, and 20, 2 tens. So we multiply them together. Well, if we did the expanded, this would be 6 times 10. 20 is 2 times 10. We said multiply them, right? 60 times 20. And so if we reorganize these, we get 2 times 6, commute it over to here, and 10 times 10. Anytime you have a number ending like 60 and 20, a tens, it's got to be multiplied by 10. And when we multiply it out, 2 times 6 and 10 times 10, because there's a 10 in here, 6 times 10, there's a 10 in here, 2 times 10. So you regroup them, you're going to get 10 times 10. So we're always going to get 100. So the answer is going to be in hundreds. 2 times 6 is 12 times 100, which is 1200. Okay? Now there's a lot of ways people have talked about this, but I like to say there's a 10 in this number. There's a 10 in this number. So we're going to have 10 times 10, which is 100. 2 zeros. Okay? And that's what it ends up. Once you multiply it out and times the 100, you get 6 times 2, 12. 10 times 10, 100. 1200 is the answer. Okay, so here's another problem. 70 times 40. So what do you think the answer is? What do you think? Okay, one way of doing it is going to be 7 times 4 times 10 times 10. Okay, 7 times 4 is what? 7 times 4. Well, it's 2 times 4 is 14. So double it. 4 times 4 would be 28. So it's 28. And again, 10 times 10 is 100. Well, the rule then becomes, right? We know this is going to be 10 times 10. So the answer is going to be hundreds. 7 times 4, right here, is 28. So the answer's 2800. So you could work it like this, or you could just think this is 7 times 4 is 28, and it's going to be hundreds. 2,800 or 2,800. Okay, good. So here we are. I've got a few problems down here at the bottom. I want you to practice here. I want you to put me on pause, See if you know how to multiply by tens here, multiples of tens. Work these problems. When you're through, come back and we'll talk about them. Okay, put me on pause. Welcome back. Let's talk about these. 40 times 50. Well, this is 4 times 5 times 10 times 10, right? So that's 20,000, 2,000. Okay? 30 times 70 here, that's 3 times 7 times 10 times 10, or 100. That is 2,100, 2,100. 50 times 70 here, that's 5 times 7 times the 100, 3,500, 3,500. It's pretty simple, isn't it? To multiply the whole numbers, 4 times 1 is 4, and it's going to be 100 because it's 4 times 10, 10 times 10, 10 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4, 10 times 10 is 100, 400. 20 times 80, 2 times 8 is 16, and it's going to be 100. 70 times 80, 7 times 8, 56. 10 times 10, it's going to be hundreds. So there we are. We got it. Pretty simple, multiplying by multiples of 10. Okay, as often happens in mathematics, we take something we know and we use it to learn something new, something different. So there's two things we know. We know about multiplying and rounding off. So if I rounded this off, I would get 30. Right? 32 is closest to 30. Now, 68, that's between 60 and 70, but it's closer to 70. So I want an estimate of what this answer is about to be, an estimate. So if I take 30 and multiply it times 70, this rounds off, it's closest to 30. This rounds off, it's closest to 7. So when I multiply 30 times 70, just what we got through practicing, we get 3 times 7 is 2,100. So I'm going to put, that's an estimate of what this answer is. Pretty good estimate. The real answer is 2176. That's the actual answer if I multiplied it all the way out. Just to show you that this is a pretty good estimate. That's the actual. This is pretty close close enough. Talking about 2,100, well, 76 isn't much. So it's close to 2,100 as an estimate. Okay, let's try another example. 65 times 39. We want to estimate an answer. So we're going to round these off. Okay? 65 is closer to 60 or 70, right? It's either going to be close to 60 or 70. Well, remember we talked about if it was a 5, we would round it up. So we'll round it up to 70. And 39, that's really close to 40. Either 30 or 40, but it's round off to 40. So an estimate for this answer would be 70 times 40. 70 times 40. And 7 times 4 is 28. 10 times 10 is going to be hundreds, isn't it? We practiced that. 70 times 40, 2,800. So that's an estimate of what the answer is going to be. Well, as we're doing a lot today, we are practicing. So we're going to practice estimating answers. Estimation is such an important concept. We've got to know if we're close so we can go ahead and work. and know that we're going to get the right answers if we know about what the answer should be. So that's what we're practicing. We're practicing estimating. Okay, so we showed a couple examples up here. Go ahead, round these off and multiply to get an estimate of the answer. When you finish, come back and we'll talk about them. Put me on pause. Okay, 17 times 41. Well, 17 is between 10 and 20. It's closest to 20. So the estimate would be 20. 41, round it down to 40. I'm sorry. It's about. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 times 10 is 100. The estimate would be about 800. 39 times 31. 39 is close to 40, isn't it? Between 30 and 40. 31's between 30 and 40, but it's a lot closer to 30. So an estimate would be 4 times 3, 12, 10 times 10, 100, 1,200. That's our estimate. You want to get so you can do these mentally because it'll help you. If you think, well, that should be about, and then see if it is. 77 is closest to 80, not 70, but closest to 80. You'd round it up. 13, 3, you round it down. So it goes down to 10. 800. 100, 8 times 1 is 8. Okay. 65 rounds 60 or 70. Well, that's our 5 again. We're going to round it up. 42. Well, 40 or 50, it's closer to 40. So an estimated answer would be 7 times 4, 2,800 or 2,800. 22 times 51. 22 is close to 20, not 30. 51, 50 or 60. It's closest to 50. So an estimate would be 5 times 2, 10, and it's 100. 10 times 10. So a good estimate would be 1,000 there. Okay, 49 rounds up to 40 or 50. Closest to 50. 29, either 20 or 30. Closest to 30, right? So an estimate would be 5 times 3, 15, 1,500. Nice. Well, that's a good way to estimate, and like I told you, estimation is really important. And okay, that's our lesson today. Teachers can answer any questions you might have. Enjoy your mathematics.